Well, let's now get a sense of the economic implications of all these on Nigeria and also the way to avert a serious impact. And I've been joined on the program by Honorable Saidu Abdullahi. He's the Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Finance, and also Dr. Emeka Okengwu, who is an economist. I'd like to thank you both for joining us at this time. But perhaps to first ask you, we've gotten sweeping reforms, some would say restrictions on perhaps travel and several other bans this morning. The NYC members' camps have been cut short. We also have the ban on 13 countries, and we're seeing the government announcing 5 more new cases. Honorable Abdullahi, what's your reaction to perhaps what the government is doing now?
I think we are all in a shock with the development as far as the virus is concerned, and of course, it's not peculiar to Nigeria. It's something that is ravaging the global space. So my government is actually being proactive in terms of taking certain measures in order to curtail the spread of the diseases. At the level of the National Assembly yesterday, there was a motion moved by a colleague under matters of urgent public importance. And part of the prayers is for government to be able to restrict flight inbound into Nigeria. And I think what the government has done so far is in response to some of these calls. It's not restricted to just the National Assembly now. Even from the public, there has been outcry for certain measures to be taken. So I think the government is welcoming, the federal government is welcoming that they are proactive enough. I've seen measures in terms of cancellation of some of the engagement, like the national sports. But we just heard this morning that the NYC camp has been suspended. But I think these are some of the things that we look forward to from the federal government, and it's a welcoming one as far as the virus is concerned. At least we should be able to manage the challenge we have on ground, and to mitigate the possibility of allowing it to spread across the country. The government has been forthcoming as far as that is concerned. But also, I think the challenge, the pressure has been, the federal government has been frontal in terms of this proactive measure, but it needs to be across board, across all the country. All states need to come up with emergency operation centers so that we'll be better prepared against any occurrences of the virus across the country.
To Okengwu, and do you have any fears, considering all that you've heard, the measures government have taken since last night to this morning, and seeing as we also have new cases of COVID-19?
Thank you very much. For me, I think we must be able to segregate what needs to happen or what is happening into 3 very broad sectors. There's a virus, it's a pandemic, it's here with us. To deal with this virus, it's affecting health, is affecting politics, is affecting travel, is affecting economics. So in trying to deal with it, you must also now deal with it from those 3 very broad perspectives, what you call the social distancing. Okay, fine. How are we able to do that in a country where we do a lot of social engagements? How are we able to do that where we do a lot of mingling? You talk about treatment and you talk about prevention. Do we have the capacities for treatment? Yes, we are trying to put some preventive measures in place. Are they far-reaching enough? Okay, do you have this information being passed? Because we seem to be, focusing on those who are coming from outside the country, remembering or forgetting that a lot of people have also come in, like the woman in the Enugu case. She had come in, stayed home, had mingled, had interacted with people before she now, presented, and eventually it turned out she wasn't positive. So point I'm trying to make is, there are advantages that we can also get from this. And what are these advantages? How ready are we as a country to be able to also identify those advantages? There are also lessons to be learned. And what lessons have we also learned from countries like South Korea, that even it got ready before the thing hit their shores. Coronavirus is not a new virus. It's important we appreciate and understand that it's in the family of Ebola, which was here with us, is the family of Lassa, which is still here with us. Now, shops, shelves are being cleaned out in America, okay? Now, what that simply means is that it's going to be impacting on food and food security in countries like us that are, to a very large extent, dependent on food. What are we doing to be able to now make ourselves food secure? What are we also doing to be able to now contribute to these global, treatment protocols? I ask a question, and I've asked this question, and I'm not getting any answers. If the man who
When
was
we
in this
return,
case
but I do
is
beg your
recovering,
pardon, Dr. Okengo,
was,
we need to go on a break now. More on COVID-19 realities also still to come. The ruling APC and the main opposition party, PDP, war words over the application for the review of the Supreme Court judgment on Zamfara 2019 elections. We'll bring you details when we return. Welcome back to the program. First, to some of our stories in brief. The Supreme Court reserved judgment on the application by the Zamfara State chapter of the All Progressives Congress seeking a review of its ruling that invalidated the party's participation in the 2019 elections. A five-man panel of the court, led by Chief Justice of Nigeria, announced that a date for ruling will be communicated to the parties in the suit. Also, it's the second year of the second term of Mr. Willie Obiano, the governor of Anambra State. 6 years since he first got into office, and he's marking the milestone with the commissioning of select roads and bridges embarked upon by his administration in the 3 senatorial zones of the state. Also, a reminder, new just in today, the 5 new cases of coronavirus in Nigeria confirmed by the federal government. The latest cases were announced by the Minister of Health, Dr. Sage Hanire, at a media briefing in Abuja. 3 of the patients we hear came in from the U.S., including a Nigerian mother and her child, as well as 2 Nigerians who came in from the United Kingdom. One of the confirmed cases is an American who came in via the land border. This makes 8 cases confirmed in the country since the outbreak of COVID-19, although the first 2 have been given a clean bill of health. We've been talking about these issues, COVID-19 realities, and also the impact on Nigeria's economy. We've talked to our guests, Honorable Saidu Abdullahi, Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Finance, and also Dr. Emeka Okengu, who is an economist. I'll come to you, Dr. Abdullahi, with regards to our preparations and how indeed the economy can be cushioned against the outbreak of the virus. And the Joint Committee yesterday said that they will be looking into a downward review of the budget and that revenue-generating agencies also need to be alive to their responsibilities. Are we late in doing this?
Well, I think as a committee of the House, we have been proactive as far as responding to some of the challenges that we're facing today. We've been having a revenue monitoring session with some of these revenue generating agencies, and I think that that has put them on their toes in terms of being responsible in their remittances to the Federation account. Now, the challenge is over time we have been so much reliant on the petrodollars, and of course we've always been very concerned about the volatility of the international oil market. Now the realities today is pushing us to look inward in terms of things that we can do differently. We must be able to promote our fiscal management. We must be very transparent in terms of our fiscal management. We must be very prudent in terms of our fiscal management. Now, if you look at it over time, I for one believe that the economy has enough capacity to take care of some of these our funding needs without necessarily looking at the option of borrowing. Borrowing, of course, is a necessary, should be a necessary exploit for a developing economy like ours, but we've not been able to do enough in terms of the domestic capacity, looking at the physical environment now. So these are some of the things that we have been set out to do as a committee of the House for the past 2-3 months. We have been having engagement with some of these agencies. In fact, we have a proposal on ground on how to come up with an amendment to Fiscal Responsibility Act, because what we have realized so far is that we've allowed our revenue generating agencies to have this laxity in terms of their responsibility to the country as a whole. And within the next few days, by the grace of God, we should be able to see some of these things coming to light. Now, the challenge of the virus as it were today presents to us two things. We must be able to look at our health sector as a whole, and of course we must be able to look at the fiscal environment like I stated earlier. If you look at the health sector, for instance, is the country really prepared? Do we have the adequate health workforce to take care of any challenge in case of a pandemic situation in Nigeria? You have countries like the United States today, with all their effectiveness in their health care sector, they're being overstretched. You know, there is this fear that was in some states of of America. If the virus continued the way it's going now, they will be overstretched. They will run out of
So, Honorable Abdullahi, are you saying that we're not prepared? We don't have the revenues and we don't have the healthcare system?
Oh, well, we are not in a dangerous situation, so to put it. I think we're well prepared in terms of our fiscal environment. We had an amendment to the finance bill, which was all-encompassing. We look at some of these laws have been archaic. They have been there for long without amendment. Of course, what we did now, what we're able to achieve is to make them responsive to our present-day realities. What you have in terms of our oil revenue projection, when you look at the 2020 budget, was just about 2.6 something trillion, which is less than 30%, just about 32% of the total revenue projection. So I think we were able to appreciate beforehand that the volatility of the international oil market could impact negatively on whatever it is that we want to do in terms of our development side. So we should not exercise fear. I, for one, believe that by the grace of we are well prepared. We have what it takes to rise to the challenge of
Let's quickly hear from Dr. Okengo. You get to have the last word in this. And this is the federal government's effort. So far, we heard from the president talking about protecting people based on the falling oil prices. But we know the benchmark that the oil was fixed, $57 in the 2020 budget. Do you support a reduction or perhaps reprioritizing some of the items in the 2020 budget? And also, perhaps if you might as well tell us how indeed diversification has worked, because this is not the first time the oils have tanked, have dipped as low as what we're seeing now.
Well, you see, to start with, the question is not necessary, because even if I didn't agree with it, it will still happen. We will need to review the budget. But, going further, I think it's gone beyond, just reviewing the budget. I think it's gone to a place where we need to get everybody onto the same table. And when I'm talking about everybody, I'm talking about those from the local governments to the state governments, to the federal governments, and then to the private sector, onto the same table. I think it's getting to a time where we must now know that it is just not only coronavirus that is affecting the oil prices. It is also being triggered by, the war, or what you call the pricing war between Saudi Arabia and Russia. And both of them can be able to sustain that war because they both have, very low production costs for crude oil. Having also said this, I do not think we're a crude oil consuming country. I think we're a product or byproduct of crude oil consuming country. So the question will be, what efforts, what have we put in place to be able to, turn this seeming disadvantage of low oil prices into a major advantage for those, or because we consume a lot of PMS. The president has done well, means well. You must give him the kudos. National Assembly has also done well, but the question will be, to what extent have they been able to take this, act of doing well to the subnationals? Have they engaged with their colleagues in the lower houses so that everybody is on the same page, now trying to now look at one policy? Honorable has talked about the fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is what it is. It is talk. Where the problem is the work. Okay, where our agencies of health, okay, are the subnationals, how are they being aligned? Our National Health Community Development Agency, how are they aligning with other pharmaceutical, non-governmental pharmaceutical institutes to be able to put together these things? Remembering that CG, and it's important we know this, the company in South Korea that developed those kits that made it seamless for South Koreans to get tested.
I wish we had all the time.
Was a private sector company.
But we do have to go at this point. We'll definitely invite you on some of all these pertinent issues, talking about COVID-19 realities. We'd like to thank you for joining us, Dr. Emeka Okengo, who is an economist and also the Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Finance. Honorable Saidu Abdullahi, many thanks for joining us at this time. The People's Democratic Party is raising serious concerns over the decision of the Supreme Court to reserve judgment on the Zamfara State governorship election matter. The National Publicity Secretary of the PDP says the decision of the Apex Court to reserve judgment is not in tandem with the established practice of the Apex Court. But for the All Progressives Congress, they replied the People's Democratic Party saying that the opposition party should mind its business over Zamfara governorship case. The ruling party in a statement says they raised serious objection to the attempt by the PDP to interfere in the Supreme Court's decision to reserve its judgment on the Zamfara state election matter. They're saying the PDP has no business in the matter. Well, that's it on Lunchtime Politics this afternoon. We'd like to thank you for watching. Don't forget, we have more stories via social media platforms at Channels TV. Our website, www.channelstv.com, has more information. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker.